Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here. I wanted to introduce the panelists that I have up here on stage with me. They are all members of, they're volunteers for part of the Festival of Ideas program that you've been hearing about today. These are the volunteers who came and worked, gave their own time to lead up the individual cities that took the ideas from the Festival of Ideas and turned them into action. So we have here today Erica Felicella, Chair of the Cultural City, Jennifer Parvin, Chair of the Educated City, Kim Rice and John Backes, Chairs of the Innovative City. We have Maria Loveland Schneider, Chair of the Physical City, and we have Matt Houston, Chair of the Political City. Thank you, everybody, for being here. So you are going to hear more about their actual pitches when we do the fast pitch after this session. But what we wanted to talk about more during this session is how they came to do what they do. I was really glad to hear Mina Chang bring up unicorns in her keynote speak over lunch, because I think we have 6 unicorns up here on stage. They are a rare breed because they are volunteers. They gave up their own time, hundreds of hours, because they were passionate about these causes. And they had very little direction. I won't say organic process here. We learned that was a bad word. But I will say that they were very self-directed, and they turned this process into what they wanted it to become. And it's just been a joy to watch it progress over time. So really, I think they will tell you that it's just because they care so deeply. But I think there's a lot that we can learn from them about how that energy and drive that they have was harnessed. So we'll talk a little bit about the process that's unfolded and how they got to where they are. I'd like to start out by saying that we all in this room know that encouraging deep engagement like this from volunteers can be really difficult. And so I'd like to start us out by talking to all of you. You've devoted so much time to this project. Why? Why don't we start with Erica?
I always say it's because I have a community problem. That's my big issue in Dallas. I pretty much volunteer wherever I can. And I've had one of the best committees that I could imagine. We are all very passionate about this city. We're all very passionate about culture. We all are unicorns in our own right. We sit in the sky. And we're dreamers, but we're also dreamers that like to execute ideas. So to speak for that group that's over there at that table, it's a lot of love. It's that simple.
Jennifer, do you have anything to add?
I think certainly the passion and commitment to education and the belief in education as having the power to really change lives. Plus, it's been fun. It's been a fun group of people to work with. We've learned with and from each other and innovated in ways that none of us had before around an issue that was very familiar in some ways, close to us. So it's been enjoyable.
Okay. Fun. Kim, has it always been fun?
Yes, it's most always been fun.
Always.
John, do you have a different answer?
So I think that if it were always fun, then we wouldn't be doing anything very interesting. And we had to pivot quite a lot as we were kind of zeroing in on what we ended up presenting today. And we had changes on our team. We all had to get to know each other. Nobody on our team knew each other when we started. But what I thought was really beautiful about it was that for our team, it was our experience, and I don't know if this is the experience of other teams. Is I really felt like we represented a cross section of kind of the many people of Dallas. Nobody had a big name or had big resources behind them. It was more like, okay, what is a big enough idea to matter for us, but then what's really accessible for this group that we can do that's meaningful, and I don't know. To me, that was really what I enjoyed in participating.
You know, I think we follow in a great tradition in the city of Dallas. I grew up here, and I look at all the things that have been built in the last, few decades, the dreams that have come to life because someone thought of some idea that was impossible, and they went and did it, from the Arts District to the Deck Park to the Trinity River to everything that's been developed and going on in the city. And I think we just are part of that tradition. There's something really exciting about taking it another step, or in our own way addressing it with our committee.
So that sounds like a sense of pride in being in something larger, and that really gets at the idea of collaboration that has been talked about so much today. And Maria, I think you're a good person to start us off talking about collaboration and what it's been like to try to group together a lot of disparate forces in this project.
That was really the exciting part to me. There were two things and two reasons I agreed to do this, because this seemed like a significant time, effort, and we all are busy. But one of the things that's really important to me is trying to include everybody. And even though that's actually really difficult to do, I find myself often in rooms that are talking about changing Southern Dallas, for example, when in fact no one from Southern Dallas is in the room. And for me, that really is an overarching issue, and I wanted to try to bring the people who are in the room at the Festival of Ideas, for example, who are talking about those problems together with people that I work with on a fairly regular basis in Southern Dallas, to really start to collaborate. And so when I found out that the Festival of Ideas, which would be another idea getting platform, planning, et cetera, actually had an action component, that was exciting to me, and that was really worthwhile to pursue, because I don't think any of the bigger issues, we're not going to solve them unilaterally. We really are all going, it takes everyone, and that is what I saw as the opportunity here.
Matt, you've talked about collaboration too being really important on your group.
Well, and that was actually a great segue, because collaboration is so necessary to make any process better. The more diverse you have, the more diverse ideas and innovations you have, the better your product is. And this resonates home with me, particularly what you just said, is because I'm a resident of Southern Dallas. I was born and raised in Southern Dallas. I'm a product of Oak Cliff, Texas. And so being able to cross the Trinity or cross 30 for education, live there for a while before moving back to Southern Dallas, it's important for everyone to have a seat at the table, so that, one, not only that Northern Dallas is doing this for Southern Dallas, that's a false way of approaching things. What needs to happen is to make sure that it doesn't matter where you are geographically, that if you're pro Dallas and you have an idea to the table, it's valid. And that's what this Festival of Ideas really helped me learn, because, one, I was drafted to be a part of this. Thank you, Lisa Mesa Rogers, who's one of the workhorses of our political city committee. But we did a leadership program before in 2008, and she understood and knew my passion. So we took it to the next level, because having different mindsets and skill sets allows us to create the best idea.
I think that's important. All of you felt comfortable enough, like you belonged here, that you had a seat at the table. What made you feel that way? Why did you have the confidence as a volunteer to chair a committee out of a citywide festival like this?
Well, I never felt like a chair to begin with. It's all about, as going first always makes you think about things that you should have said, and then it comes back. But what I loved about my team is that there's nobody in leadership. It was all about just getting people together, collaborations. We didn't agree on everything, but as was said in this room, we never worked in the problem. We worked in the solution. So, what was the question again? I got so inspired, I forgot.
What about the process gave you the confidence to feel like you wanted to be involved in this?
So I went to the Dallas Festival of Ideas, which, bravo to all of you. It was a Snowmageddon, Ice-mageddon, whatever we called it that day. But I just, I'm involved in a lot of activities in the city, moving things forward. when I found out who was on this committee and who wanted to be on this committee, that's exactly what drove me. That's why ideas are something that I can't help it. I don't say no. I probably should, but I just want to see things happen. I feel like our city is a very passionate, innovative, and engaging place right now. So, I mean, what more can you say?
Kim, how about you?
You know, I kind of felt like it just happened on the committee. And John and I both just kind of moved into this and...
No, we were drafted too.
Well,
Alon.
kind of. And just didn't look back and just thought doing something innovative and exciting is just very seductive, and it will, get you connected, and then working with a great team. And you just can't let go.
Was anyone up on this stage not drafted? Were you all drafted by someone who was involved and encouraged to get involved? Because I think that's an interesting key.
Well, that's actually a great point.
Yeah.
It's part-time lunacy to be a leader of something that takes such amount of time, energy, and effort on ideas that are so forward-thinking, and you not either get compensated for or it deters you from your regular job. But the purpose of this supersedes all of your logical thinking. And so I'm glad I'm not the only one that felt that it was crazy to do this. So, bam, good deal.
Yeah,
but the purpose is definitely it's worth it.
Yeah, we had this really unique privilege of inheriting a set of ideas that weren't original to any of the people that were actually on the committees. So it was experts that came up and were in panels, and then the keynote that sort of created this bundle of ideas, and then you had all of these open source community ideas that all got thrown into a big bucket, and it was like, here you go figure out how to make this happen. And so, wrapping your head around how do I make this my own? And I would say we spent quite a bit of time with the 10 people that we had in our group, just understanding why we were there and why this was important to us, and developing a vision for that was unifying for all of us. Which I think maybe is reflective of some of the challenges with anything like this. Everybody's got their own little pet thing, and how do you all start to see this common vision?
Well, I think that is a great transition into something that I was curious about. Everybody came away from the festival with a list of ideas, and some were very big ideas, some were small, granular ideas, but you all took that in your own direction, and some of you have ideas you are forming that weren't even necessarily on that original list. I'd love for us to talk about that process a little bit and how you got from A to Z, where you're ready to give fast pitches today.
Jennifer?
Well, we walked out of the Festival of Ideas having heard Elizabeth Green, who wrote a book called Building a Better Teacher, and the breakout sessions, which were all about how do we do that. And some of us on the team had been to the festival and some of us hadn't. And so when we walked away with that charge to build a public understanding of what teaching is about and how we create great, effective teachers, we spent probably 2 or 3 meetings just talking about all the different approaches we could take, from a PR campaign to actually working within a school, and then had the idea of something around an event, which led to something around storytelling. And then when we went to the first fast pitch in July, got really, really great feedback, which allowed us to focus and bring in a technology component and just got much more specific about what we wanted to accomplish. So it was very much a process, and people were engaged, and I think part of the magic of it is always to see what different people bring to the table and get the most out of the gifts that people bring to the work.
Maria, what about your committee?
I think think one of the things that we're not really talking about in this process is the way that we were all kind of thrown into a pitch situation, which I don't think we knew was going to be happening at first. And that really puts a frame around it, because all of the issues that we were dealing with are big. Mine is the physical city. Well, you don't really take a small group of volunteers in a city like Dallas in 1 year and have a big impact. But the idea promoted by Tony and SVP that we were actually, they kind of shepherded us through a few iterations of honing our ideas down to something that's actually doable and practicable, which is the only way that this would have turned out to be a useful sort of thing. So I want to give a shout out to them for doing that. And beyond that, for me, it was very important that we weren't starting from scratch, because the idea that we got out of the festival was the idea of nodes in a city. How do you implement that? It was clear that it had to be efforts that were going on already that could be harnessed towards that. So that was really what we looked at, was becoming a focal point for some things that are already happening, and that led to creating a vehicle to make other things happen. And you guys will hear more about that. But
Thank you. We brought up fast pitch and how that's been good. Everybody has been working toward that goal. We have a question from the audience that says, I understand you are presenting at fast pitch. What will you do if you don't win the grant?
So I was thinking about that actually last night. As you know, Cultural City worked very late last night to make sure that we were fully prepared for this room today. And I'm speaking on my behalf and hoping that the rest of the team agrees, but this is a viable thing that our city would be just richer to have. So proceed forward is what I see. But again, I'm speaking on their behalf, so if they, yay. Just passing it on. But we definitely want to move it forward. It's something we're all very passionate about.
So, grant or no grant?
Well, I would like to say that outside of this pitch competition, our committee believes so passionately about this project that we will go across the world to try to sell this program. Trust me, if you have an airline ticket out there, no, I'm joking. No, because it's not only something that can impact Dallas. We created a product that we're able to change humanity. And so we're not doing this for the pitch. We would love for you to vote for the political city committee, by the way. I'm not excluding you. But the important thing is to change people and to change systems. And it doesn't stop here at bigBANG. We'll continue to go, if we win or not.
Right. We have another question from the audience. How are you getting more people of color involved as stakeholders? I know that's something each one of you has thought about.
Real quick, I think one of the things that I have felt incredibly lucky is that we have such a diverse committee, so that we're all able to address all sides of town, all sides of just diversity in general. So I think we've been able to approach that issue from a very, very just equal and strong standpoint. And I think that's to do with who got elected to be on our committee. So very grateful for that.
Maria?
that's something that ours is not going to work without that, because we are working on behalf of communities that are primarily minority in Southern Dallas. So we actually are having our meetings there. We had this week, in fact, we had our last community engagement seminar, shout out to UTA, with 50 people from the community there. We're working with other organizations. It's already in process. So this is going to happen, and we would really appreciate support from this group. But if we don't get it, this is a long-term process that we've already been involved with, and other groups. But it's in collaboration with the community for the community. So there are actually more people of color from that community involved than there are us. And some of them are on our committee, and some of them are tangential. But that was what I was hoping for, and that is what's happening.
So any other specific methods you've used to try to engage, broader communities?
You have to build relationships. And so, no, I'm not speaking because I'm the only black guy on this panel. You are? But I am, I'm also part Asian, and never mind. But the reason why we have to get out of this box that is just about race. Yeah. Race has a huge factor because Dallas is built on discrimination, and that's why we're having these ideas to fix it. But in order to be able to fix that, You have to build relationships with someone that you're uncomfortable with, SVP Dallas, just as people who aren't as comfortable to interact with you as well. So we're all equal in the fact that all of us are scared to make new relationships, but both have to be able to happen in order for you to then invite someone to Festival of Ideas, to have the trust to be able to join a committee, because it's not on the thing, it's the relationship the person knows.
And I think that ties right back in with this idea of drafting people, getting them involved. If they don't think they're going to join forces, you encourage them to join forces, and that's how we can broaden our circles. I think it's time for us to move on to actually hear the fast pitches that we've been talking about. So first, I wanted to give these folks a round of applause and thank them for all of the hours they've spent putting this together.